So Group 4 is going to be doing a video presentation on like documentary style with when it comes to voter suppression. There's been many documented cases, especially this being an election year, that have made it a very relevant and important topic. I'll be discussing the Georgia voter suppression between Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams. I'll be interviewing somebody that that family has worked on the campaign and has seen firsthand what it's done. Jourdan will be discussing North Dakota and how the voter suppression there has hurt the Native American population. Rodney is going to be talking about the history of voter suppression, going back to Jim Crow laws. And Alyssa is going to be talking about how felons are not allowed to vote in some states, even ones on probation who are not currently in jail anymore. I think everything involved in this video is more of an important topic to discuss because it's very relevant, it's very current, and it's important that everybody is aware of what's going on.
Hello, my name is Rodney Jones, and I will be discussing voter suppression laws and its racist beginnings. Before Jim Crow, only white men and freed slaves who owned property were allowed to vote. All women, non-African American minorities, and many non-Christian religious groups were denied the right to vote. Beginning of Jim Crow. In 1870, black men had the right to vote under the 15th Amendment. However, during Reconstruction and Jim Crow, they were subject to harsh intimidation and punishments if they tried to vote. Ways of suppression. Violence. Blacks who tried to vote were often threatened, beaten, and killed. Their families were also harmed. Sometimes their homes were burned down, often they lost their jobs or were thrown out their farms. Reading test. Today, almost all adults can read. 1,200 years ago, however, many people, black and white, were illiterate. Most illiterate people were not allowed to vote. If few were allowed, they could understand what was read to them. However, white officials usually claimed that whites could understand what was read. They said that black people could not understand it, even if they could. Sadly, this would be the result of many black people who tried to vote during this time. Property tax. In the South, many states were allowed only property owners to vote. Many blacks and whites had no property and could not vote. Grandfather clause. People who could not read and have not owned any property were allowed to vote only if their fathers or grandfathers had voted before 1867. Of course, practically no blacks could vote before 1867. So the grandfather clause only worked for whites. Former prisoners. People who had gone to prison were often not allowed to vote. Blacks were very often arrested on trumped-up charges or for minor offenses. Sometimes, white owners of mines, farms, and factories simply needed cheap labor, and prison provided it. This law kept many more blacks from voting than whites. South states made literacy tests to prevent former black slaves from voting. When whites failed them too, an accession was given to anyone whose grandfather was eligible to vote. All whites had eligible grandfathers and a few blacks did. The end of Jim Crow. In 1965, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act. Millions of African Americans began voting as a result. Today, most of these ways to stop people from voting are illegal. The U.S. Supreme Court said that states cannot use the grandfather clause and cannot have all white primary elections. The U.S. Constitution was amended in 1964 to make poll taxes illegal. Literacy tests and property tests are not used today. While violence is seldom used, voter intimidation still does occur. This picture shows how black people lined up to vote after the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965. The suppression still continues. Even today, there are still laws and customs that make it difficult or impossible for many black citizens and other minorities to vote. Former felons are not allowed to vote in more states. However, different states have different laws. Purges of the voter rolls are still used to get rid of African Americans and Latino voters. Government-issued IDs like driver's license or special photo IDs are not required in some states. Today, many African American, Latino, elderly, and poor white citizens are now forced to pay for their right to vote, as blacks were during Jim Crow.
Exactly happened in Georgia.
So, the gubernatorial race between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp was extremely controversial, due to the fact that Kemp was the Georgia Secretary of State, so he was in charge of the voter roll, so that's like the list of registered voters in the state. During that time frame, a coalition of advocacy groups sued Kemp for alleged voter suppression. He was purging people from the voter roll, and it was disproportionately black people. 70% of those purged were black, even though the voting population in Georgia is only 30% black people.
Okay, so then who was affected by that?
So minorities were mostly affected in the state, because those were the ones that would obviously vote for Stacey Abrams, and Kemp, didn't want that to happen. And he was exposed on video saying that he was nervous that a lot of people would exercise their right to vote.
And that he would lose? Mm-hmm. So, what were the results of the election?
So Stacey Abrams did end up losing by like 60,000 votes, but the race was neck and neck. He won by 50%, and she was at like 49%.
Okay, wow, so really close.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how exactly is this voter suppression?
So Kemp was using his office and his responsibility and authority to ensure that less minorities were allowed to vote in a race that he was participating in. And then after further investigation by the AP, it turned out that almost all of the reasons for removing people were unfounded.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Hello class, my name is Jourdan. Today I have my guest speaker Tasha with me. Today we're going to be talking about Native American voting suppression. The Supreme Court has just upheld a law that basically allows North Dakota to not allow Native Americans to vote because they do not have physical addresses. Now, that's not the only state to do this. There are a couple more, but today we're going to be talking about North Dakota and a couple other reservations, and get Tasha's point of view as to see exactly how this may allow some minorities to go ahead and feel. Tasha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Tasha Toledo. I'm originally from New Mexico. I'm a full Native American, full Navajo. But my parents are from both the Navajo Reservation and the Jemez Reservation.
Okay.
So that's my background.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
So, have you heard about this law?
I have. Bits and pieces here and there.
Okay.
Kind of like through my mom and my dad.
Okay.
My mom is sort of like a Native American activist, so she's the one who keeps me updated on things.
Okay. And does she vote?
Yeah, she votes.
Okay.
My dad too.
How do they vote?
They vote in New Mexico. A lot of times they have tribal chapters that host the voting booths, so they just go to the local chapter house, and there they usually do their voting.
So just to reiterate, they have P.O. boxes as their primary address?
Yes, they do.
Okay, that is cool. So for North Dakota, the problem that we're having now is they don't have those chapter voters for them. If you do not have a physical address, then you're not able to vote. How do you think that fellow Native Americans would feel that their voices would be suppressed yet once again?
How they would not like it. It goes back to, I think, the original inhabitants of North Dakota, and to be told, oh, you can't vote, it's kind of, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it's definitely after getting so much taken away from the Native Americans via land, education, school facilities, and everything else, but just to go ahead and suppress them even more is definitely demeaning, and it shouldn't be that way by any means.
Oh, absolutely.
I found it interesting that in the state of Arizona, basically the bare minimum requirements in order to vote are a homeless shelter to which the registrant regularly returns to, a temporary place for living the individual is a resident of, such as a halfway house or transitional housing. They actually still have the right to go ahead and vote, but Native Americans who actually live on the reservations, they don't get to. Do you think that's fair?
I don't think that's fair at all. No, that's not fair. Because the majority of the people that have lived on the land have lived there for generations and generations. Like the place where my mom and dad, that has been handed down for at least 6 generations.
Wow.
So it's basically like that's home. So in someone who lives in a homeless shelter that's just kind of temporary, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you have it. Our guest speaker here basically let us know that suppression for the minorities is not okay, but yet somehow the Supreme Court has upheld the law to go ahead and tell North Dakota that this is allowed. It's not.